hi Jock. You want to be in the video? We're filming a video. You always come up when I'm filming a video. You want to say hi to everyone? Like, what's this? What's this? Oh, hi Peppy. Hello everyone and welcome to day 9 of Cavemas. Today we are going to be taking a tour of the cave. First off, the reason for it is that I will be moving at some point next year, so this may be the only opportunity to document the current state of play. In addition to that, I thought you guys might be interested to see how I store things, what I have, that sort of idea. So that was the thought behind doing this video. The cave got its name because this is not only my art space, but it is my workspace as well, and I spend a significant number of hours in this room every single day between the two things. So the name came about because I spend so much time in here. Mr. Jem often says to me, "Are you in your cave?" And I say, "Yes, I'm in my cave." And one day when I was colouring a picture, he said to me, "Are you colouring in your cave?" And I said yes, and hence the name of the channel was born. So I'm just going to grab you guys, and the video quality and the sound quality might not be so great. Well, the video quality isn't going to be so great because it is going to be handheld, but I am going to mic myself up, so the sound quality should be okay, and you will probably have interruptions from Pip because she is not capable of leaving anything alone. So I'll just grab you and we can go and see what's in the cave. Alright, so here we are at the door of the cave, and if I just slide in here and pull this over a little bit, the first most important thing is that in behind the door is where I keep my bag. I am a great reader and writer, so there are several bookcases full of books, and yeah, I am not a hoarder of books, but I do like to have quite a lot of books, so that is not art related at all. Moving round, this is where I do my work and also where I film all of my videos, and I'm sure that green mat will be very, very familiar to all of you. So I just thought I'll start on the desktop. That's the best place. Obviously there is my poor battered laptop. It's many, many years old. It's something that will be upgraded in the new year, but this laptop has seen a lot of action. So on my actual desktop I have some work stuff in here, and this is my sort of daily pencil pot, and it's got 3 sections in it. So in this first section are normal pens, you know, that I would use for, you know, working and things like that. Here's all the Bic crystals that I'm so very fond of using. The middle docket is things that are not necessarily pens, like my Zig water brushes that I like to use, a couple of pairs of scissors and some paint brushes and things. So that's more utensils. And in this other section here is all pens that I use, that I can just pick up, and things that I use quite often. So it's mostly fine liners and white gel pens. There's a few pencils and things in there as well. I've got a couple of these Palomino black wing pencils that I like to use, and it's just so that I can lift them if I'm in a hurry, or if I'm just wanting to quick scribble something down. There are a lot of the black pens that came in the scroller box a few months ago. There was one box just before Inktober that was all black pens, and they kind of live in there as well. So that is always sitting up on the windowsill there. I also have my colour wheel which sits in there as well, so again it's just a hand. There is the view out of the cave window. It's not very nice today, but sometimes you get lovely sunrises up over that hill over there, and it is beautiful in the summer. Really like it. This is Amy, my plant. She is a variety of daisy, so in the springtime she produces big lovely yellow daisy type flowers. She is my constant companion. This little guy here, this is actually one of these dusters for your, you know, for your screen, and he just lives in there. And this is this is a very special little creature. This is it's kind of like a local tradition where I'm from, and it comes from the Isle of Arran, which is a beautiful little island just off the west coast. And there is a company that makes these little people, and if you turn it over to the back, they're called Arran Stone Men. And they spend time taking the stones off the beach, and they have to be these nice round pebbles, and they make them into these little these little characters, and obviously mine's a sort of Minnie the Minx type one, and she's got a little flower in her hair. But you can get really big ones and you get little, you know, tiny ones like that. They're lovely, I really like them, but that's a childhood thing. Here is my pot of Pigma Micron pens. Again, that always stays in my desk, so that's brush pens and fine liners because I use them all the time, so I like to have them to hand. If we move on down, oh, I forgot about this. That's my colour Copic chart up there, and also all my notes to myself of varying things that are pinned to the wall. Also on my desktop, this is my wireless charger for my phone, so when I'm not using it, I can just plonk it down there and it's on charge. And my pencil sharpener, and I only use that for normal writing pencils. I don't use any of my drawing colouring pencils in there because it just chews them up. This first drawer in the desk, it belongs to Mr. Jem. That's full of his things, so we'll not be touching that. In this cupboard down here, this is where I store all of my paper. So there's a few I have a pip. There are a few different types of paper here, and it tends to be the larger sheets of paper and pads of paper that I haven't used yet. So that is some Pro Marker paper and more marker paper, a pad of pastel paper, tracing paper, more marker paper. This is just printer paper, and you can see if you look in at the back there's a few line notepads, some more printer paper, and a few other bits and bobs. This big one here, I don't really want to pull it out because that's just going to be disastrous. That is watercolour paper and it's A3, and underneath there I have some Strathmore toned paper as well. So that is that cupboard. Let's shove everything back in. Pip, will you get out the road? On this bottom shelf is all stationery stuff. It's mostly envelopes and things. It's not that exciting, and my slight fetish for post-it notes, of which there are an absolute ton. So that is that cupboard. In this middle drawer here, this is mostly sort of random stationery items. So I've got paper clips and some mechanical pencils, which I've been drawing with quite a lot recently. That was just a cheap pack from Paper Chase. I've got my little jar that I put my pencil sharpenings in, and I have these tins here, and this one is pencil sharpeners, spare pencil sharpeners, and this one is spare erasers, of which you can see there's quite a collection there. I've got my Prismacolor sharpener in there as well, so there's a few bits and bobs in there, and just kind of random things that don't really have a home. Some highlighters, a chalk marker that I bought for using for my wedding. Some blending stumps. I have blending stumps everywhere, I've got millions of them. And just a few other markers and stuff. Moving over to this drawer. That's work related, my keypad. So in here I keep all my notebooks and things, so they're just handy. This is my bullet, well, it's not really a bullet journal, it's an Omni journal. So that just lives in there, it's quite handy. This is my YouTube book, where I write down all the stuff, like all my notes and everything for videos and things like that. My swatch book, my scroller box swatch book, and everything's falling out of it, and just another notepad in there as well for it's actually labelled normal notebook, so that's just for normal stuff, as in, you know, everyday notes kind of thing. Right, you two. So that is that. Now this is where things start to get a bit more interesting. This is where I keep some of my art supplies in this cupboard. So up the top here, that is my Prismacolor pencils, all stored in their little case. You can see the greens are very short. Green is my favourite colour, I use it the most. So they're all tucked in there nice and safe. Ugh. This little Derwent wrap it's kind of spare pencils. In this mesh section I have spare Pigma Microns and gel pens that I have either acquired or have bought at some point, but they're not in use yet, so they live in there. In this pouch here is my Prismacolor Col Erase pencils, which I use for sketching sometimes. They're pretty good. I don't use them all that often, so that's why I keep them in this one. And here's Pip again, she's so nosy. Aren't you, Pippy? Right, don't touch that. Alright, so moving on. These are my Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils, of which I have a a sort of large handful of. I don't have a full set, but I'm planning on building these up once I have finished my Copic marker collection. I am starting to draw things that for people to hang on their walls, so I do need to use light fast pencils for that. At this stage I'm not quite ready for them, but I've got those anyway just now. These are my Jelly Roll pens, and I have a substantial amount of them as well. And in this little one, this little pencil case came in one of the scroller boxes, and this is really difficult to do with one hand. And that keeps my Stapler fine liner pens, of which I have a full set of too. I can see Pip's going to be a nuisance through this entire video. Down to the bottom shelf, I'm aware it's quite dark in here. This box here, these are my Gansai Tambi watercolours that were given to me for my birthday, and they are so pretty. I'm not a huge watercolourist, but I do like to have something to use. So aside from that, I have my Derwent Inktense travel kit, and again this came in a scroller box, and these are amazing, these paints. Everything else in this box is for my journal, so I've got some patterned craft paper and some stickers and just a few other kind of bits and bobs in there. There's nothing terribly exciting in that one. Also in here, chucking stuff about, these are spare paint brushes, of which I have oodles. Again, I'm not a big painter, but I seem to have acquired a lot of brushes, so yeah, they live in there. This pencil case has all my Derwent pencils, so these are my Inktense pencils, the little light fast pencils, and also the Graphitint pencils, and they all conveniently fit in that pencil case. Also, I have my Albrecht Dürer watercolour pencils, which I love. These are so pretty, they're so nice. And also my pastel pencils, Faber-Castell pastel pencils. And these were actually given to me as a wedding gift, which I thought was the best wedding gift ever. So they all live down in there. They're heavy. Try and put everything back in a sensible order. So that is that cupboard. I'm moving over here now. I just have my notice board and my scanner stroke printer. Down on these shelves here, there are some more books, but the things that are sitting on this shelf are things that I'm working on, so they are works in progress, and I tend just to stick them there because they're within easy reach of the desk. So I have the December scroller box, which is only recently arrived. I haven't done anything with it yet. Just a sketch of a cat and a picture that I'm doing in markers. Down here I have some stuff for upcoming videos, so that gives you a little hint as to what might be coming up. And over here in this carry-all, these are my Polychromos pencils, and they're sitting out along with the jewellery box because we are in the middle of a colour along in that book, so that's why they're sitting there. This is mostly work stuff in this shelf, it's not very exciting. This is a folder that I keep all my finished artworks in that are loose, you know, that aren't done in a sketchbook, so they live in there. And I have my old sketchbooks as well that are full, so they live in there too. This tall bookcase at the end is a kind of mishmash of everything. Quite a lot of this stuff normally sits on the shelf behind the desk, but it's been moved out the way for Christmas decorations. So this is full of washi tape. This is about the only one that's of any interest. That's my little tin full of washi tape. I'm sure some of you have noticed by now I've got a thing for tins. I have some writing books and stuff up here as well. More books, and a jog. Over here, this sofa bed is basically just a glorified dog bed. That's why it's got a throw over it, because the dogs like to lie up there during the day while I'm working. But underneath is a bit more interesting. Oh, this is my box of spares, and you can see there is quite a lot of stuff in it. I'm not going to go into anything great detail. I've got a few bits and pieces in here. Some watercolour pencils that I don't use because I've got my Albrecht Dürers. More blending stumps and a few spare craft knives as well. These are like disposable craft knives. These are pens and pencils that I don't and or won't use, and I just keep them if anybody's got kids coming with them or whatever and they can play with them. I usually have a box of
Crayola pencils that live in here as well, which I keep again for kids and stuff, but my friend's actually got them just now. I let her borrow them so she could do a bit of colouring. Oh look, more blending stumps. I have a few pipettes, which are quite handy for ink and watercolour stuff, and I stole these from my work. I stole these from the lab that I do work for. Shh, don't tell them. So a few empty boxes, more pipettes. This is my jar of pencil stumps. Don't ask me why I keep them, I just do. And this is all stamping stuff. I don't do very much stamping. I do it in my journal sometimes, and it's quite a bulky thing to keep, so I just keep it in this box. A box of pens. I use these for work and for drawing with sometimes. Spare Pigma Microns, lots of. Spare Prismacolor pencils. Again, there's actually 2 tins there, and they are just spares so that when I run out of one colour I have another one waiting in the wings. And boxes of spare Palomino Blackwing pencils, again in varying forms. These are the ones that I use the most, the 602s. They are very expensive pencils, but I like them. But I don't use them all the time because they are expensive. Okay, so that is the spares box. I've also got another pile of stuff that hides under here. Oh, this is a carrier bag from my favourite shop, which is called Flying Tiger, and their carrier bags are hilarious, and they're usually hand drawn prints that's on them, and they change them quite frequently. Look at these in their deck chair. And I do buy quite a lot of cheaper craft stuff, like those craft knives I was telling about. I buy all that stuff from Flying Tiger, and the only way I can describe it is it's like an IKEA for small stuff. The company are based in Copenhagen, so it has that sort of ilk to it anyway. But yeah, I really like that shop. I also have my light pad that I bought back in, I think it was August time, so that just lives in its box under there. This is a scrapbook, and as you can see I haven't touched it, and that is going to be full of things from our wedding and our honeymoon, but that is a project probably for once we have moved, whenever we do that next year. Got a spare picture frame there as well, and in this shoe box it's where I keep all my 3D pen stuff, so all my filament and the actual pen itself. And again, we have managed to rope Papa Jem into possibly doing a 3D pen video, so that shall be back in action on the channel just shortly. Okay, moving round. This is the bit that you always see in the back of my videos, so I'm just going to start at the top here. Up on the wall, I did not draw this picture of Woo, our Jack Russell. That was done for Mr. Jem by someone a long time ago before him and I had met, but I really like the picture because it looks just like her. These are mine. I'm going to change these periodically. This is a Hannah Lynn picture that I coloured last year, and also a drawing of a parakeet that I was quite proud of. Moving on to all the stuff. In my lovely John Deere box, which is my favourite. I always have a lighter sitting here, and that's to light my candle that normally sits there, but we've got a little snowman just now. So this is a bit of a mishmash, this box as well. It's things that don't fit well in the cupboard in the desk, that's why they're over here. So I've got some pencil blending solution. This is a UK based one, as it says it on the bottle, made in the UK, and it smells lovely, it smells of oranges. So I have like a bottle of that, which I use to fill up an empty Copic marker, and this is what I use when I'm colouring in on CreateSpace paper. But I also have one that is a sponge that's saturated in it, and that's so that I can squash my blending stumps onto it. I'll try and show you, take a little off. So it is just a sponge in there, but that is wet with the blending solution, and you basically just poke your blending stump into it, and then away you go, that's you. So that is that. This is the fixative that I use, and I spray all my colouring pages and all my pencil drawings with this, and it's pretty good. It is a workable fixative as well, so you can draw over the top of it if you want to, you know, do another layer, so to speak. Set of mini pastels that I use quite a lot in my videos. A big tube of black acrylic paint. Again, I tend to use that for backgrounds. I'm not really an acrylic painter, not a painter full stop. Other stuff I've got in here, some surgical spirit, which I just use for cleaning up sometimes, and I've got a few watercolour palettes and a circle stencil. And I have quite a lot of these little jars. You'll see a lot of these kicking about. They start off life with pickled mussels in them, which I really like. This is just a sanding board for my paper stumps and one thing and another. You can see that one's quite worn and it's nearly empty, so time to get a spare out of the box from under the sofa. And again, another little pot there. I'm not going to lift that out. There's a tiny tube of white gouache in there, which I use for highlights sometimes. And surprise, surprise, another blending stump, another pipette. So that is the John Deere box. Moving down to this little cabinet here. Ugh. These are some of my chameleon colour tops. The rest of them and the actual markers themselves, I've moved them and I keep them in a separate box now in the cupboard, which is just outside the cave door. I have some of the Gansai Tambi paints here, some charcoal, and down here I have more tubs. Like, I use these for painting and for ink sometimes. These are just sort of random markers that I don't use. Again, some of them are scroller box contributions, just sort of random markers. I am changing my marker setup. I'm getting new storage for my Copic markers because they are growing. So this is all going to change in the next probably month or so. I've got a little bag there with some cosmetic pads and sponges in it, and that's for using with the pastels. And here are my Copics as they stand just now. I have about 120, I think, last count. And they're absolutely no use to me in this configuration, which is why I'm doing something about it. So you'll probably notice that again in the background of one of my videos in the not too distant future. We've got some Christmas decorations. Look how we've got Mr. Reindeer. Oh, I didn't show you my light up box. Christmas is the most magical season of all. I wasn't aware that Christmas was a season, but hey. I've got my little snowman with his candle in him and my little long-legged reindeer. You can see the tennis ball hiding there, which I've had to take off the dogs because they just like pull all the fluff off them. It's messy. Okay, moving down here. Some of you will recognise this, my little palm tree from my 3D pen video that I did. And in this box here, I'm trying to do this gently because it will all fall out. Put it on the floor. There we go. Okay, so that is ink nibs for my proper ink, which I'll show you in a minute. So I just keep them in this little tub so that I don't lose them, because she's so nosy. Pip, what are you doing? Get out. Come on, out. Alright, so these are spare drawing pencils. So I have two full sets of artist grade pencils, which haven't come into use yet, but I do chew through a lot of graphite pencils, so they won't last long. And you can see there that there's just another couple of spares. The orange ones are Palomino pencils, they're just not the Blackwing ones. And the graphite stick from the Last But One scroller box lives in there too, so it's kind of like a graphite box. Moving along, I have these plastic tubs as well, which I use for various arty pursuits. But in there are a set of dual tip brush nib pens, again along with pens that I only use occasionally. So there's a Pip pen there, and Wink of Stella and Wink of Luna. So they're still kind of to hand, but they're just not necessarily on my desk. These are my Winsor & Newton drawing inks, which I use the nibs for that I just showed you, and these are absolutely fabulous. I'm going to be using these a lot more often. After doing Inktober, I am a bit more confident in drawing with ink, so I'm going to put these to good use just shortly. And here we have the Faber-Castell gelatos. They all live in that big basket, and this is just scrap paper for me to note down colours on, or you know, things like that. It's normally got stuff printed on one side, and I just keep it and use it to doodle on or scribble on while I'm doing stuff like that. Pip, stop it. Down here I have Bob Ross in Funko Pop form, and I have my Body-chan and Body-kun mod on either side, and just some more books. This bottom shelf is just work stuff, but the left hand side of this shelf is where I keep my colouring books. So you can see there that the ones on this side are ones that I haven't coloured in yet, and it's all Bennett Klein books because I have squigillions of them, but those are my main colouring books there. I don't have a lot of colouring books, and I don't have time to colour in all of them as it is, so that's plenty. Moving on up here, this is kind of like the last section now. This top shelf is more paper. I've got a lot of paper. So this is my drawing pencil case. So these are the items that I use regularly when I am, well, it's mostly graphite drawings. So you can see Pip. In there I've got a kneaded eraser, a few pencils and one thing and another. So these are the items that you'll see me use most in my drawing videos. Will you stop that? This is my current sketchbook. I'm nearly through this, so I'm going to have to pick out a new one just shortly. I did a repair job in the back. The cover was actually ripped, and I thought I would just use one of the many scroller box stickers I have to patch that up, and it seems to have held okay, so not complaining. So here we have some mixed media paper, some watercolour paper, smaller size. In this scroller box I keep all the loose sheets that come from the scroller boxes that I don't use, and that's quite handy just to have to pick out, you know, if I'm wanting to do a drawing on loose paper. This is a spare sketch pad. I haven't started using this one yet, and that's just normal sort of cartridge type paper. I have an A4 mixed media pad. I have a cheaper sketch pad, and this is what I use when I'm doing my videos, just to demonstrate things. Some of you will remember that video as well. Some tracing paper. That's to lean my hand on. That's not, I don't really trace things, but to stop me smearing my Prisma pencils, I put this under my hand sometimes. This is my black paper sketchbook, which is currently in use as well. To the side here I just have a few extra sketchbooks. So there is the little Copic marker one, which I did the video on the different types of marker paper. And I have this Derwent graphic. It's more like a journal. It's got some patterned paper and some plain paper. And it's a really, really nice sketchbook, but I don't actually know if I'm going to use it. I may give this away at some point. This is going to be my next sketchbook, and it's the same as the one I've got, more or less. It's just in landscape orientation, just for a change, and I like the paper slightly better quality in this one as well. And there's just a few bits and bobs there. I have some Redbubble stickers there that I bought. And there you have it. That is the tour of the cave. So I hope this has been enlightening for you all. Apologies for the Pip interruptions. And yeah, it's all fun and games in the cave, and we will see you tomorrow for the next day of Cavemas. Have an excellent festive day, guys, and we shall see you tomorrow. Bye for now. If you are enjoying Cavemas and have enjoyed this video, you can check out some more of my other videos just here. And if you want to subscribe, you can smash the button on the left. Feel free to leave a like and a comment in the box below as well, and we shall see you tomorrow for more fun with Cavemas.